Whether you're stuck in traffic, hitting the gym, or just winding down, we are here to spill the hottest tea from your favorite Bravo shows. From the wildest reunions to the quietest social media unfollows, we cover it all. So welcome back to Reality TV Podcast and Clips. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's get into it on 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's unpack this fascinating stack of sources you've gathered. Our mission today is, it's not just to recount the latest reality TV news, but to really do a thorough deep dive.
Exactly. We need to go beyond the screaming headlines.
Yes, and extract the essential takeaways. We're talking about the immense financial pressures, the emotional resilience required,
Which is incredible.
and the ongoing public and legal battles they're facing. I mean, several really high-profile reality figures right now. We're covering a huge spectrum today, moving from the high-stakes finance in Beverly Hills and Atlanta to the psychological warfare in Orange County, not on Vanderpump Rules.
And then finishing up with image and aging in New Jersey, it's really a remarkable snapshot because it shows us the full life cycle, the entire life cycle of a celebrity who builds their whole career on self-exposure.
Right.
You see the massive, massive opportunity for wealth, but then immediately after that, you see the potential for financial destruction and legal fallout.
And the psychological cost. That's what really stands out here.
Oh, absolutely. The sources really highlight that. The cost of performing your life for an audience that feels entitled to judge everything, every single decision, good or, disastrous.
It becomes so clear how tightly the financial and emotional crises are intertwined.
They are. We're talking about stars grappling with seven-figure debts while at the same time processing emotional damage so severe it's triggering actual clinical conditions like PTSD.
That's the perfect framework. So let's start right where those two worlds collide. The intersection of high finance and high glamour.
Or maybe the intersection of alleged ill-gotten gains and, current paychecks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's begin with Erika Jayne's financial scrutiny out of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
This is a great place to start because it all stems from a really fascinating public conversation. It's between Andy Cohen and Howard Stern.
Right. And Stern is clearly a dedicated viewer. He comes at the show with this very specific common sense skepticism.
He really does. And he honed in on just one single loaded question.
That's it. And the core question he posed to Andy Cohen, it was so simple, but it just encapsulated the entire public debate around Erika Jayne.
Mm-hmm.
He asked, given everything that's happened with her estranged husband, Tom Girardi, and the millions that need to be recovered,
Yeah.
how does Erika Jayne still have the visible money to hire and sustain a full glam team?
It perfectly captures that cognitive dissonance the audience feels.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the public assumes financial ruin should lead to this immediate, visible collapse of the whole luxury aesthetic.
They expect to see it fall apart.
Exactly. They expect that if the source of your previous wealth is now known to be criminally acquired, the lifestyle must just disappear instantly.
Okay, so before we get to Andy's answer, we really have to set the stage for you, the listener. We need to provide the timeline for Tom Girardi's status, because the pace of justice here is measured in years, not months.
Oh, absolutely. You have to remember Tom Girardi, who was this, formerly very prominent and powerful LA attorney.
Right.
He was first accused of embezzling millions from his clients.
And these weren't just any clients.
No. Victims of plane crashes, burn victims, people who desperately, desperately needed that money. And that was all the way back in late 2020.
And the legal consequences since then have been systematic and severe.
They have. 2 years later, in 2022, he was officially disbarred. He can't practice law anymore.
And then just recently, 2 years after that.
He was found guilty. A jury found him guilty of stealing from his clients, and he was subsequently imprisoned. That 4-year timeline of just cascading legal failure, that's the backdrop for everything Erika has been filming.
And it is so crucial. And the source material really emphasizes this, so we have to stress it, that while the legal system went after Tom Girardi for criminal acts, Erika herself has not been criminally charged.
No, she hasn't been tied to his specific crimes.
But she is still completely entangled in all these complex civil lawsuits. And these suits are trying to recover the massive funds that the plaintiffs believe were fraudulently transferred or somehow passed through their shared accounts.
And that distinction, criminal versus civil, that's really the key to understanding Andy Cohen's defense.
Okay, so when Stern pressed him on her current finances,
Andy's response was immediate. It was focused entirely on her earned income. He highlighted her career longevity and her earning power within the whole Bravo ecosystem.
and that longevity is It's really remarkable. Andy pointed out she's now 9 seasons into RHOBH.
That 9-season metric is absolutely key. It's a huge milestone. It solidifies her position as a veteran cast member, which, generally guarantees a very high salary. 6 figures, maybe even 7 figures a season.
And Cohen made sure to highlight something else, a little bit of a dig maybe.
Oh, yeah. That she's now surpassed the season count of her former co-star, the show's, previous icon, Lisa Vanderpump.
That is a very concrete metric of professional success.
Yeah,
Within this very specific industry.
it is. And that is the answer to the glam question right there.
She isn't operating on Tom Girardi's money anymore.
Right. She's leveraging her established reality TV career into a sustained, pretty substantial income. Andy Cohen also added that she's making significant money from her stage show, from personal appearances.
Which are very lucrative revenue streams.
Very. Cohen summarized her current financial status simply as doing okay.
It's doing okay.
But, and this is a big but, as we look at the full picture, we can't minimize the hurdles that are still ahead for her.
Right, so she might be earning enough to cover her current lifestyle, the glam, the lawyers.
But the shadow of her past life is very long. She is still facing a very significant, potentially career-defining civil trial that's scheduled for next year.
So while her cash flow might be okay, the final resolution is still looming.
Looming very large, it creates this really unsettling duality.
Where the show has to go on, the glam has to be flawless, even as the ultimate civil liability is unsettled and, frankly, potentially catastrophic.
And you can draw a direct line from this ongoing drama to the show's success. Howard Stern himself praised it in the same conversation.
He did. He specifically called Andy Cohen a genius for his casting choices.
And that praise wasn't just about Erika's resilience. He complimented the overall strength of the new season of RHOBH.
Yeah, the genius, from a production standpoint, seems to be maintaining the anchor of the Erika drama while injecting fresh energy.
And fresh wealth. Critically fresh wealth. Stern specifically noted the inclusion of the newbie Rachel Zoe. He called her addition a brilliant opener for this season.
Which suggests the show is successfully balancing the seriousness of the legal stuff with the aspirational fantasy that defines Beverly Hills.
Exactly. And then there was also the mention of Amanda Francis.
Right, who Andy confirmed is proving to be divisive.
And that word divisive, that's a compliment in production terms. It means she's providing friction, conflict. It drives the narrative.
So Erika's legal battle is the serious, long-running storyline.
But the success of the new season relies on the immediate, fresh conflict from the new cast members.
And Stern also had this very specific, almost bizarre piece of appreciation for Sutton Strack.
Yes, he said he loves her in those outfits.
It's such an oddly particular brand of praise for RHOBH.
Yeah.
You're celebrating the veterans' financial resilience, appreciating the newbie drama, and then just applauding the fashion choices of Sutton Strack.
It just validates the audience's investment in the pure aesthetic of it all. It suggests that viewers are willing to forgive or overlook, immense financial turmoil as long as the fashion stays impeccable.
And the drama stays compelling.
Which brings us right back to the glam team. It's a non-negotiable part of the job description that generates the income in the first place.
That is an utterly brutal financial picture to start with. But if Erika Jayne's problems involve civil suits and tracing past transfers, the next story is just pure, undeniable public debt.
And compounding debt at that.
We need to pivot sharply to the massive escalating tax crisis facing Kim Zolciak and her estranged husband.
The sheer scale of this crisis is what really demands attention. It's a perfect illustration of systemic, long-term financial mismanagement combined with a high-spending, very public lifestyle.
Let's just nail down the numbers right away because we need to detail the scope of this. It's grown to staggering levels.
Okay, so Kim Zolciak now has accumulated multiple tax liens totaling an absolutely immense sum. Are you ready for it?
I am.
$1,311,638.
Wow.
And this isn't like a rough estimate or a pending bill. This is the cumulative recorded weight of years of non-payment filed against her by the government.
A tax lien is a public claim on your assets. It's basically telling the world you owe the government money.
And this specific total just highlights a severe institutional failure to pay federal taxes over a very prolonged period.
And this all came back into the spotlight because of a brand new tax lien that detailed her more recent ongoing debt.
That's right. The recent 6-figure tax bill that was filed by the IRS totaled $163,804.30.
And the breakdown of that is really eliminating.
It is. It includes over $104,000 for the year 2019. then about $24,000 for 2023, and over $35,000 for 2024.
Seeing it spread across those years, 2019 being substantial, but then 2023 and 2024 showing immediate, ongoing failure to pay.
It confirms this isn't some historical mistake that got fixed. It's a persistent, systemic financial issue that is just deepening in real time.
And the complexity here just grows because we can't treat this as only Kim's debt.
Yeah.
Her estranged husband, Croy Bierman, has his own separate substantial lien.
Right, filed just months prior. His separate debt, covering 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2024, totaled $194,199.24.
So you're looking at a household where for nearly half a decade, both primary earners have been simultaneously racking up massive, separate federal tax liabilities.
It creates an almost insurmountable obstacle to financial recovery. It suggests either, extreme spending that just outpaced their income or severe issues with financial planning and compliance.
Which can happen when you're an independent contractor earning that kind of unpredictable reality TV income.
For sure. And it's important to look at how their property figures into this whole mess. The recent tax land listed an address for a 6-bedroom home worth around $1.3 million.
Okay, and that $1.3 million valuation is a crucial piece of context when you look at their recent real estate history.
Oh, absolutely. Fans of The Real Housewives of Atlanta know they built a whole narrative around their previous home, that colossal mansion.
7 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, almost 16,000 square feet.
They initially listed that house for $6 million.
$6 million, and what did it sell for?
Only $2,750,000.
That is a gap of over $3 million. It's astronomical.
It's not just a bad real estate deal. It strongly illustrates the level of financial desperation they were under.
A forced quick sale.
Exactly. When you take a loss that severe, it suggests you needed to sell fast to, stave off foreclosure or deal with creditors. It just underlines the depth of the chaos.
And the legal entanglements from her personal life just keep multiplying.
Yeah.
We have details about a brand new legal drama, this one involving a subpoena.
Yes, Kim was subpoenaed back in October, and this happened amid the divorce proceedings of her new boyfriend, Kyle Malowitzis.
And this isn't just any divorce.
No, it's a $100 million divorce. The fact that it involves a 9-figure sum immediately signals the incredibly high financial stakes.
So why was Kim being pulled into a divorce of that magnitude? What was the estranged wife, Jillian Green, trying to find out?
Well, Jillian Green requested specific documentation. She was clearly trying to trace money and assets, specifically asking for information on money Kyle or his company may have spent on Kim.
So she's trying to prove that marital money was spent on a third party.
That's right. It's a legal effort known as tracing dissipated marital assets. She also accused Kyle of transferring substantial sums into a trust that she couldn't access before they separated.
So when a star gets pulled into that kind of high-stakes fight, their private life literally becomes evidence.
It does, but we do have a very clear counterstatement from Kyle Malowitz's legal team about this.
What do they say?
His lawyer, Marvin Solomiani, issued a very strategic statement. He said they wouldn't litigate the case in the press, which is standard. But more importantly, he said bringing Kim into the case was highly unnecessary.
And what was their crucial timeline defense?
This is the key. The lawyer emphasized that any relationship Kyle may have with Kim only began after the parties had already separated.
That's the legal firewall.
Exactly. By establishing that the relationship began post-separation, the defense is trying to block the wife's claim that marital funds were diverted to Kim during the marriage. It's an explicit attempt to wall her off from the whole $100 million dispute.
Yeah.
The complete chaos of reality celebrity finance. Massive tax leanings followed by a subpoena and a 9-figure divorce. It's a lot.
It is.
Okay, shifting gears entirely. Let's look at the immense emotional and psychological toll that this level of public scrutiny extracts. We're moving to the emotional cost in public warfare, starting with Tamra Judge and the aftermath of RHOC Season 19.
This section gives us a really raw look at the serious psychological damage that the narrative around a reality TV star can inflict. Tamra Judge made a hugely significant and very serious public revelation.
What was that?
She admitted to having post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, stemming directly from her experience on The Real Housewives of Orange County.
And PTSD is a clinical diagnosis. For her to cite the show as the cause, she must have endured some specific, really overwhelming stressors.
She did. She cited experiencing a huge hate train last year. And crucially, this wasn't just, online annoyance.
Yeah. It resulted in her receiving actual death threats. The combination of targeted, real-world threats and the feeling that her life was being intentionally misportrayed. It created an environment of trauma.
That feeling of being unfairly represented, where the footage is edited to construct a villain narrative that doesn't match your reality, that must be maddening.
It is, especially when it's coupled with the terrifying consequence of death threats. She admitted that even when she came back to the show, she was very scared and nervous about saying anything.
So the emotional damage wasn't just historical, it was ongoing.
Right, creating a state of hypervigilance and anxiety that, aligns with classic PTSD symptoms.
And the specific incident that brought all this to a head was the finale call drama of season 19.
The leaking stories to the blog's accusation?
Yes, the accusation that she was the one leaking stories. That sequence was perceived as a massive ambush designed to isolate her.
It was. But what's so fascinating here is the insight the sources provide about production's role. We learned that an executive producer, Alex Baskin, actually called her before the episode aired
To give her a heads up.
to give her a heads up that the confrontation was coming.
That is such a unique, almost bizarre dynamic. The network knows the emotional damage an episode will cause, so they try to mitigate the shock.
But what did Tamra say about that waiting period? She described it, knowing what was coming, how bad it was going to look, as the worst feeling in the entire world.
So the anticipation of the public shaming was almost worse than the event itself.
It seems so. It's a form of sustained psychological pressure that's really unique to this kind of televised conflict.
And the emotional weight was clearly compounded by the dynamics at the reunion. She felt she was strategically isolated and targeted. She even named names.
She did. She felt she was actively ganged up on by 4 of her castmates: Shannon Bedour, Emily Simpson, Jennifer Pedranti, and Gina Kirschenheiter.
Wow.
Her visceral reaction was recalling herself, wondering aloud, "What did I do to you, Emily? What did I do to you, Gina? What are you guys doing?"
So she saw it as a coordinated attack.
Completely. She interpreted it as evidence of a huge division in the cast and openly wondered if people were trying to sabotage or ice somebody out.
And the perceived unfairness of this was really highlighted by a contrast in focus. Tamra felt the conversation deliberately shifted away from the actions of another long-running figure, Gretchen Rossi.
Yes, this became what she called the Gretchen Rossi defense.
Explain that.
Tamra complained that the cast in the reunion spent a disproportionate amount of time, she said 30 or 40 minutes, grilling her about alleged leaks, while posts she considered pretty freaking gross that had been liked by Gretchen Rossi were completely brushed over.
And Gretchen's defense, which came up, was essentially an algorithm defense, right? That she just likes everything while scrolling.
Right, trying to minimize the significance of it. But Tamra dismissed that entirely. She insisted these posts were, all over Reddit and all over Twitter, that they'd been floating around for years.
She basically said, I don't have things like that showing up for me to casually like.
Exactly. Which implies a strong belief that Gretchen's interaction was either deliberate or, at the very least, reflective of some underlying toxic sentiment that the rest of the cast just conveniently chose to ignore.
In favor of attacking Tamra.
Yes. And the aftermath of that reunion perfectly encapsulated the fractured state of the cast. There's a very specific anecdote about who offered support.
Who was it?
Tamra revealed that when she was overwhelmed and crying after the reunion, only Katie Janela came to her dressing room to check on her.
Only one person.
Only one. And the contrast is so stark. Tamra noted that the 4 castmates who had participated in the gang up, they all went to dinner together with Gretchen Rossi.
Wow. That visual, the isolated crying star versus the celebratory dinner with the perceived antagonist, that says everything about the divisions and alliances right now.
It really does.
Despite all this mental strain, Tamra seems to have developed a philosophy on handling the negativity and the influence of the Bravo machine.
It's a survival mechanism. She absolutely refuses to read the comments. She considers it a waste of time and, more importantly, detrimental to her mental health.
And what's her perspective on the audience, on the fans?
It's interesting. She believes the hardcore fans, while very loud, are inherently fickle. They flip-flop. They'll demand you be fired one minute and then advocate for your return the next.
And what about the influence of that social media noise on the network? Does production listen?
She confirmed that from her discussions, production isn't really influenced by the social media backlash. She said the noise doesn't equal genuine influence over casting, which gives her a degree of peace.
So it sounds like while the on-screen drama caused real trauma, her relationship with the network's leadership is still solid.
It seems to be. She noted she saw Andy Cohen at BravoCon, and crucially, he called her the day after the reunion specifically to check on her. That gesture of care from the network executive is a sharp contrast to the vitriol from her castmates.
Okay, Let's transition to an even more vicious, high-velocity public battle. We're moving into the vicious social media feud. Tom Sandoval versus Katie Maloney from Vanderpump Rules.
This is just pure, unadulterated public warfare. It escalated incredibly rapidly and aggressively.
And it started with a seemingly harmless game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Marry, kill.
During an onstage Q&A, yes. But Tom's answer and the social media fallout just definite. It quickly pushed the boundaries of acceptable reality TV shade into the realm of deeply personal and psychological attacks.
The question was standard. Play the game with Lisa Vanderpump, Lala Kent, and Katie Maloney. But his justification for choosing to murder Katie was just utterly bizarre.
It was so specific and morbid. He pulled this niche analogy straight out of a true crime documentary from Discovery ID shows.
What was it?
He claimed that the common trope you hear about a woman who is tragically murdered on those shows is that she had a smile that would light up the room.
Okay.
And then he asserted that Katie is the opposite of that.
Oh, wow. The sheer toxicity of that implication. That she's so miserable she wouldn't even fit the profile of a missing person. It's shocking.
It is. He concluded Katie's like the opposite of that, so she's in no danger of being murdered. He explicitly said she does not light up the room at all. He weaponized the concept of human warmth against her.
And Katie's response was swift.
Yeah.
And aggressive.
Oh, yeah. She responded immediately with a meme telling him to choke and added, "I don't care." And then she followed up with a direct claim, stating that Tom possesses the characteristics of a murderer.
That's a significant escalation. She mirrored his tasteless joke and twisted the label back onto him.
Right. And this might have been the end of it, but Tom's counterattack was the moment it rocketed out of personal drama and into highly sensitive political territory.
He brought up a painful past incident.
He did. It was a clear strategic escalation designed to inflict maximum public damage. He used social media to call her comment rich.
Rich, coming from someone who had previously celebrated the murder of a father and husband.
And the person he was referencing was the political activist Charlie Kirk.
Okay, we have to pause here. This is politically charged, and we must impartially provide the precise context of Katie's past statement regarding Charlie Kirk's murder. We are just reporting what was said, not endorsing any viewpoint.
Absolutely. So Katie's previous controversial post was a reaction to the event. Her exact statement was, quote, "We do not celebrate death, but we also do not mourn monsters. Those two things can and do coexist. The absence of mourning does not imply the presence of celebration."
And she did later issue an apology for that due to significant backlash. But Tom's decision to resurrect that entire incident in the heat of a personal feud is incredibly revealing.
It highlights the brutal reality of celebrity in the digital age. Nothing is ever truly deleted, and no public statement, even one with an apology, is ever off limits.
Past controversies are constantly weaponized.
It's rhetorical scorched earth. The goal isn't to win the argument, it's to destroy the opponent's public standing using any ammunition available, no matter how sensitive.
It really speaks to the long-term cost of building a career on self-exposure.
And Tom concluded the exchange by just dismissing her and reinforcing his original insult. His final shot was, "So glad I don't have to be around your miserable energy anymore, lol."
It's just circling right back to the start. Okay, from this emotional warfare, we shift now to the very physical demands of stardom. Let's tackle Section 3, Image, Aging, and the Aesthetics of Stardom, with Jennifer Fessler's surgical evolution from The Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Jennifer Fessler's very public decision to undergo significant surgical procedures speaks directly to that unrelenting pressure reality stars face.
The pressure to maintain an appearance that is palatable to the audience and acceptable to the high-definition camera.
And that pressure intensifies so much as they move through their 40s and into their 50s.
So let's detail the specific procedures she underwent. They're substantial.
The 55-year-old star had 2 major procedures at once with Dr. Sam Risk. She received a deep plane facelift and a nose job, or rhinoplasty.
And the deep plane part is significant, right?
It is. It means the lift targets deeper layers of muscle and tissue, not just the skin, which often leads to more natural, longer-lasting results.
Her motivation for it, which she shared publicly, is actually deeply relatable.
She was incredibly candid. She said that as she entered her 50s, she felt her features were changing. She explained she felt her nose was spreading across my face.
And she articulated the core frustration of being a public figure.
Yes, that it was hard to get a good picture because all she could see was jowls, neck, and nose. It's a clear desire to actively combat the effects of aging that are magnified exponentially under the glare of HD television.
And this wasn't just a quiet personal choice. The magazine headline she was featured in framed her experience as part of a bigger cultural trend.
Oh, absolutely. The headline was, "Would you get a nose job in your 50s?" It frames her decision within this massive trend of over 40s patients seeking out plastic surgery. It's becoming more and more common.
She had a very specific goal for the results, though. She didn't want a radical change.
No, she was very clear about what she didn't want. She explicitly said no little button nose. Her goal was pure definition, but she needed to make sure her nose stayed proportional to what she called her big features.
So refinement, not radical alteration.
Exactly. She explained that while her nose still is large, it now fits her face. That goal of natural integration is about enhancing your look while still being recognizably you.
And the details she shared about her recovery are just astonishing. It seems impossibly fast.
She claimed she breezed through it, and she asserted she was out a week and a half later at a Super Bowl party.
A week and a half after a deep-planed facelift and a nose job.
If that's accurate, it's an incredibly rapid return to public life. It speaks to either an exceptional personal recovery or just how advanced these techniques have become.
And finally, what's her current status on The Real Housewives of New Jersey?
She's been a part of the series since season 13. However, the sources confirm that at this moment, her return for the upcoming 15th season is still unconfirmed. Her future on the show remains a question mark.
So as we synthesize these three segments, the financial implosion, the psychological burden, and the aesthetic pressure, we see a clear, high-risk contract that defines reality stardom.
You do. The financial sustainability, highlighted by the vast difference between Erika Jayne's high-income defense against civil suits and Kim Zolciak's compounding federal tax crisis. It shows that the show provides immense income, but it offers zero protection against past liabilities or mismanagement.
And the emotional landscape is just unforgiving. Tamra Judge's public admission of PTSD due to hate and death threats is proof of the severe mental toll.
And then you have the sheer viciousness of the Tom and Katie feud, where they didn't just argue, they weaponized the most sensitive and damaging topics imaginable. It shows stars have to navigate this constant, deeply toxic environment that fundamentally threatens their mental stability.
And tying it all together is the pressure to maintain the brand, the image, as we saw with Jennifer Fessler. Even after you achieve success, the expectation is to continuously invest in and curate yourself, often through dramatic surgery, just to keep pace with the aesthetic demands of the industry.
The investment required to keep the camera focused on you, it never ends.
So let's do a final check for you, the listener, on the key takeaways from this incredibly packed deep dive. You now have the precise scope of the debt facing Kim Zolciak, which is $1,311,638, and Croy Biermann's separate lien of $194,199.24.
You also know the names involved in the RHOC gang-up against Tamra, Judge Shannon Bedore, Emily Simpson, Jennifer Perduranti, and Gina Kirschenhanner, and that unique detail that an executive producer gave her a heads up.
You also understand the specific procedures Jennifer Fessler had, a deep plane facelift and a nose job, and her candid motivation. And finally, you have the full context of the Tom and Katie dispute, from the tasteless Discovery ID analogy to Tom weaponizing Katie's past controversial comments.
It's a lot to process.
It is. So we leave you with this final provocative thought to mull over. Considering the immense and sustained scrutiny over every aspect of these stars' lives, their money, their reputation, and their appearance, what does this relentless process tell us about the long-term emotional and fiscal contract required to sustain a career built entirely on self-exposure and performative vulnerability?